All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in for Scientific Conversations. Today we're going to be speaking with Jason Harrell, the lovely Jason Harrell. Am I saying your name right? Oh my gosh. Your last name right?
You got it.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So for those who may not know, this is like my marketing partner, my buddy, my alter, I don't know, maybe an alter ego. We've known each other for a few years now. He's actually one of the success coaches with Sighience International. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about social media marketing, using data to help you reach your career goals. You all have probably saw me post a few times this week about data is king, data is king, data is king. And a lot of people don't really understand how critical having good data is. So this scientific conversations session is going to be a little bit different because we're going to be kind of tag teaming here and there because this is our field of genius together, and you're just going to see how we kind of engage with one another, and hopefully Jason will be able to share some streams with you and get some things going. So you ready to rock, Jason?
Let's do it.
All right, then you go ahead and do your introduction, and we can just go from there.
You bet. Yeah. So I know we go back, several years. All the way back from just doing Facebook ads, and we used to, as they say, we used to chop it up old school with the Facebook ads and giveaways and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, we used to get together and talk shop with all kinds of different things. But yeah, so really my expertise really comes with a lot of social media. Really got started doing a lot of different things when it comes to really dialed in on just really how to run a good social media campaign. And from there, really what we saw was a transition, really when things really became oversaturated I guess oversaturated may not be really the right word, but in a way it kind of is, because there became a lot of players when Facebook really became really easy to use, because Facebook, their platform, became very user friendly, and a lot of people just really started jumping into it. And they've got a lot of good videos out there, and they really became, just really, for lack of a better word, very user friendly. And you can go online, you can find a lot of just good walkthrough videos and a lot of pretty decent coaches. Like myself, like you can find a lot of good people that will walk you through and show you how to do this. And through that process, there became a lot of people who were just going out there and doing it themselves. And what happened is, we've all seen it. And I think the statistic at one point was about every fourth or fifth post was a sponsored post. And which, if you think about that, that's a lot of ads. So what ended up happening was, you have basically an oversaturation of ads. So what we started doing was finding other ways to market. We started finding other ways to get your message out there. So what that means is, okay, if we're not doing social media ads, if we're not doing Facebook ads, well, then what do you do? Because the number one platform on, basically out there right now is Facebook. So if you're not doing that, well, then what do you do? Well, as you put it so well there at the beginning is, well, data is still king. And our good friend Mark Zuckerberg has he knows all too well. He's mining our data very well, and that's what makes Facebook ads so powerful to begin with, is just that culmination of all of our data. And really, so what we've done is the ability to effectively use data, and we've got good data sources, and really just to be able to use this data in ways so we can, and we're going to dive into more of this later on in our conversation, I'm sure. But really just, through email campaigns, text message campaigns, and really utilizing, and going back into Facebook and a lot of those custom audiences and lookalike audiences and things like that. And I know we're kind of, getting into some deeper strategies here, but I'm sure I know we can, I know we can dive deeper on some of this, and I know just kind of getting their feet wet here for some topics. But yeah, so that's kind of the brief overview of some of what we've done with it. But yeah.
Well, you know what? I think that, as we get into this session, I think it'll be a really good idea for us to really, really talk about some of the different things that has occurred. And then maybe we can kind of build awareness about that very thing, because I think a lot of listeners at this point in time, or even in the future, they may not be familiar with the good, the bad, and the ugly about social media marketing, the pros, the cons, the pitfalls, different things that may occur when we're trying to run ads. People will, say, well, I ran an ad and this happened and that happened, but they don't really know or understand, well, why did your campaign fail? Why did you not get leads? And what they say, niches for the riches or something like that, they say, but basically you have to be able to know who your target market is and how to effectively reach out to them and communicate with them so that you can reach your career goals. And again, with Black Friday being right around the corner, that's super critical. Now, Facebook is a very powerful system. You all see ads on a day-to-day basis, but you may not understand the significance of how did this ad get to you to begin with. And I think that'll be a good place to start before we start diving into some other things as well, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned Black Friday coming up, because a lot of the people that we work with, I've had this conversation. I at this point, I've lost count over the last week and a half. We've got, I think just in my subscription box company, I think we've been kind of priming our list for probably about 2.5 weeks, just getting ready. Just getting them ready in that mindset of, hey, this is coming, and I know it's crazy to think that, hey, Halloween hasn't even happened yet. Why are we starting for Black Friday? But, when we start talking about priming a list, it takes that long of a ramp up period. It's, but it's crazy. You're already, I was just in Walmart the other day, and they've already got Christmas stuff out. And when you think of the big box retailers, they're already doing it. So you think, if they're not sleeping on it, you shouldn't be either. So,
absolutely. And you're seeing, and people get ahead of the ball sooner and sooner, because you're absolutely right. Before, it was the day after Halloween, boom, Christmas was out, but now it's happening significantly sooner. But either way, it's very important for us to be able to start warming up our leads. And ladies and gentlemen, if you see me looking down, I'm actually texting and pinging different people to let them know that we are currently live. We have a lot of active students that are in and out of the club. So bear with me. Give me just a few moments. What is looking at? Yeah. I'm texting at the same time. But yeah, so that is super important to be able to start warming it up now, because studies show that your prospective client, they have to start seeing your brand, your product or service at least 7 times before they will actually respond. And with social media marketing, and we'll probably talk about this later as well, but that the money really isn't in so much the ad itself. It's actually in the retargeting of it. And that is something that is critical, but you gotta get that ball rolling first. Yeah. And with all the different things that are going on right now with the what do they call it? They're calling it with the containers,
like shipping and
like they're behind, as they're saying right now. And so that's some of the other things you want to get ahead of that. But then also do keep in mind, hey Jade, hey Nayana, hey Elgin, you definitely want to be able to keep in mind that the closer you get to Black Friday, the more your ad spend is going to cost. So this is really important for you to be able to start building your audience, start warming up those leads, start getting them acclimated with seeing you, so that by the time Black Friday comes, you are actually running retargeted ads and paying pennies on the dollar for those leads, in comparison to you already know it can get up to $25, $5, or whatever the case may be, depending on your niche market.
Right. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It all comes with, brand recognizability is, you have to be able to have that identity with your clients. Because, parents, I've got kids, we're already starting to make the list of what we're going to get and, for what kid and all that. So if you're hitting them with your ads now, they're going to start making that list. Oh, that'd be a good idea. Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. They may not pull the trigger now, but they're writing it down. They're making that list. They're like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, let's do that. So they may not necessarily click the buy button now, but they may come back to it. They may save it, or they may screenshot it or something like that. So they may not necessarily hit the purchase button now, but they're going to come back to it later. So, just because you may not see that instant success now, that don't give up on it. You got to keep hitting, keep pounding the pavement.
And for those who may not be aware of what Jason is speaking of, that's actually called the path to purchase, or the pathway to purchase. Everyone has their own customer journey. They may start off and they may see it, and you may tickle their interest or pique their interest. They may come to your page, they start Googling, they start, looking and emailing, and they're seeing you and seeing you and seeing you. And so they're starting to ask themselves questions. Maybe they've added something to a wish list. Maybe they're tickling someone that they may be considering for that product or service. And y'all do not sleep. Don't sleep. Just because it may be something that is business related, or maybe you don't think that it's something that people want to buy for Christmas, that's not really true. People will buy anything for their loved ones for Christmas if it's something that they've been saying that they want. So either way, as you're doing that, you're going along with their customer journey. And if you have your systems in place to keep following up with them outside of your retargeting, then you're warming up your lead in that list most effectively.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, you're absolutely right. Is because, and especially when you talk about like the retargeting, if you've set up everything properly, as I'm sure, if they've been through the course, they're doing it properly. If you can go back and retarget them, especially if they've clicked on the ad or they visited, any section of your funnel. If you're going back and you're retargeting them, hey, you've clicked on everything, or you've clicked on something, you visited the landing page, you've, been on my form, whatever, as it gets closer to Black Friday or closer to Christmas, you can come back and you can hit them with a one-time offer, come back, hey, let me give you a coupon, 10% off, 15% off, 20% off, something like that, because that they've been on your ad, that they've been on your website, something like that, just to kind of, dangle that carrot one last time. If they've been on there once or twice, they're going to bite.
They're going to buy. And then you also have to think about being really creative with that. So let's just say, for example, the first ad that might come out, it might be like a blatant ad that's really simple, maybe an image ad, not so much a video, because you already know video ads are arm and a leg, unless you're doing like retargeting. But yeah, like once you get going and you first capture their attention, you all can get really, really creative with how you consistently communicate. Maybe the first ad, like I said, is an image or a creative meme, or if they still allow it, sometimes they do. It depends on who it is. Sometimes they even do GIFs or whatever that turn into videos, or whatever the case may be. But once you do that, then maybe on the second level, on the second touch, you start to speak to them a little bit more directly, obviously not too directly, but you just let them know that, maybe you saw them, or, maybe you've noticed that they've inquired or taken a little bit of interest in your ad. And maybe you can go into a slightly deeper dive about what it is that you have to offer, try to touch on those hot buttons. And then maybe on the third time, as we get closer to Black Friday, you can even do a Black Friday sale through a retargeting campaign with that very same data, to let them know that you're having a pre-Black Friday sale to beat the rush before everyone else comes. And for us in the world of e-commerce, we've got Black Friday, we can do pre-Black Friday, we can do Black Friday, we can do Cyber Monday, and then keep those campaigns going, and then begin to escalate with those different marketing endeavors and those strategies.
Absolutely. And one strategy that we've seen work very well, actually leading up to, even now we use it even just as a sales tactic. Just because it works. And then we're going to employ this with even just with our text message campaigns. You know, even like with something like just like a shirt that I have on, you know, we'll have something that we'll send out like a text message. We'll say, you know, hey, we have like an overstock of this, and we'll just send out like a picture of, you know, like one of our guys wearing like this shirt and say, hey, we've got an excess of these in stock. We need to clear this out to make way for new product coming in for next month. Here's a code to help, you know, here's 15% off, buy it now, or, you know, something along those lines. And, you know, and then I think last month we did that, and we sold one of our shirts for, I think we did like I think it was like a 15% off, like on just like a single product. We did that, and I think we ended up selling just, I think it cost us like $40 to send out the text blast. And I think we ended up selling about 70 shirts.
See, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Just because it's like, okay, yeah, I'll help you out. And then I end up in a conversation with another guy. He's got like a training facility, and he's like, okay, yeah, well, how many do you have on hand? We'll be happy to like take, you know, yeah, he's like, yeah, we'll take, you know, how many boxes do you have? And I'm like, well, I mean, we don't actually have excess stock. We're just making sales here,
that way. Yeah.
It's just it's, you know, sales positioning conversations. But yeah, so like, you know, I bring that up because you're talking about, you know, pre-Black Friday, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So, you know, you can position that because after Cyber Monday, you can like, oh, we've got excess stock of insert product here.
Yeah.
I've got excess product left over after all of this holiday rush. Now you can position that in your all of your campaigning and offer insert promo code, you know, for 10-15% off. And okay, you may have to give up a couple of bucks to do it, and now you've boosted your sales on, you know, a couple of days even after Cyber Mondays happened.
Exactly. Now, if you all have noticed during our discussions, he indirectly mentioned drip marketing, which is basically how he might have touched them on a Facebook ad, but then with that very same data, he followed up with them via SMS and then ran an SMS campaign as well to be able to, you know, keep driving and keep touching that customer and getting their interest from a whole different perspective. Now, there are other ways that I'm sure we will be talking about during this session as well, to where they can communicate via RVM and email and direct mail. Like, you have to just be very aggressive, just keep touching that client until they eventually purchase. And a lot of people, they get lazy, they get discouraged, they stop at like touch number 5. You cannot do that. You cannot do that because this is very, very aggressive out here. And if you're not talking to them, somebody else is. So can we talk about that a little bit, Jason?
Absolutely. And I know in this conversation, we're just using the data. I'm going to use our subscription box just as the kind of like the base conversation, because that's where we've used most of it. You know, because that's, you know, kind of where we've, you know, kind of done the full front assault of kind of like hit them from all angles.
Right.
I mean, we've hit them from all sides, really. And we've had a lot of good success with it doing that way too. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where we do it. But yeah, yeah, I mean, you've got to hit them, you know, really on every angle. Because really, I mean, you're talking about, you know, hey, if you're not communicating with them, I mean, yeah, your competitor absolutely is. Just for a comparison, like I said, you know, I'm in the golf niche with my subscription box. There are actually, by my count, I think there's 12 other subscription boxes that are in the golf niche. Now, with that being said, there's only really one actual competitor that does the exact same thing that we do. Because now, with the reason I say that is because a lot of them focus like on apparel or like golf balls and stuff like that, which we don't really focus on. We do like the accessories and things like that. So, so when you like really niche down to what we focus on, there's like us and like one other company. But like I see their ads all the time. So you're absolutely right. Well, yeah, because I want to see what they're advertising.
Absolutely. You want to see what they're advertising. You want to see who their customer avatars are, like who's actually engaging with them. I am not saying to go steal their customers. Please don't do that. But you can learn a lot by following and engaging with those different ads. And then over time, you can start to build even more solid customer avatars and customer profiles, or as you say, niche down from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, when you're talking about, I mean, yeah, if you're not talking to them in one way or another, your competitors absolutely are. I mean, your competition is going to be hitting them all the time, especially as we're ramping up here between now and the Christmas season. They are going to be throttling up all of their advertising on all fronts. I mean, you can guarantee it.
Yeah.
But I mean, really what we're doing, just to kind of give you a snapshot, and believe me, this is not the benchmark for what anybody should be doing or what everybody should be doing. I'm just saying this is kind of what we're doing right now with all of the data that we use. So currently our email list is about a little over 18,000 on our email list. So we have 3 emails a week that go out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay. So we do 3 emails a week. And then we also have the text message campaigns that go out. So we hit them on text message campaigns twice a week. And we try not to overdo that. And unless it is something special, like when I mentioned kind of like the shirt, thing like that, we may have something that's kind of unique, something like a one-off sell. We may say, hey, we have something special coming up. And a lot of times, and we can kind of talk more about the text message campaigns on how to structure those. If you're going to do text message campaigns, and I'm just saying this because I mentioned twice a week, don't spam. Don't overdo that. Have a reason to be in somebody's text message. And we can dive more into that later. But so email 3 times a week and we text twice a week. And then we also took our list. So I mentioned our email list. We have text message list. We've got about 10,000 on our text list. And then then we took both of those lists and we uploaded them into Facebook. And basically said, hey, here's our custom audience. And we started running ads to those. And then we also told Facebook, hey, create us a lookalike audience based off of those.
Exactly.
So when we started doing that, because it was a pretty, so basically then we started running ads on Facebook and Instagram. So they're getting emails 3 times a week, 2 text messages a week, and they're seeing our ads on Facebook and Instagram. So that gives you any kind of idea how many times they're hearing from us.
Right, absolutely. Just keep getting touched over and over again. So I'm glad that you touched on the customer audiences and so forth, because that is important. A lot of people don't know and understand that Facebook recently did away with that. They used to do customer targeting. They had this big fight and this big battle with Apple, to where they no longer really allow it. Apple's like, nope, not going to give you my data, which we both know that just means they're about to gear up for something big themselves.
They are.
But yeah, so they did that. And then a lot of businesses began to struggle, and they couldn't figure out how to build their audience based off of that. So I think it's important for us to just take a moment to kind of touch on that with the custom audiences, and not just the custom audiences, obviously the lookalikes, and to help them to understand the significant difference between the two. Because even if you have a smaller list of data of 5,000, 10,000, or anything like that, that is a small campaign. However, that doesn't mean that it's not scalable. So can we talk about that for a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you and I can sit and talk about Facebook ads all day long, and we have for a good majority of the day. But yeah, so when we talk about custom audiences, and that's actually one of our preferred ways to do it. I mean, and don't get me wrong, the Facebook targeting is and can be very accurate at times. There are some of the targeting features of it that can be very accurate. But if you have a customer audience, or sorry, a customer list that you can bring into it. So if you, let's say you are a brick and mortar store, and you have a customer list, or you have a customer list that you have, like a database of like, hey, here's all the people that have bought from me in the last 2 years. You can upload that into Facebook and say, here's all of the people that have bought from me or purchased from me. And Facebook will match that up with their users. The Facebook algorithm is so powerful. So, I mean, so I'm just kind of like going baseline here for anybody that doesn't know like how that works. Okay. So I know, like, I know you're kind of looking at me like, okay, like come along here, but I'm just gonna like, I'm on baseline here in case somebody doesn't know how that works. But
Right.
if somebody like has that customer list, you can actually go from like a 1% match up to, I think it's like a 10% match.
It's like a 10% match. Yeah. Yeah. But so, just go ahead.
You know, so there's like a degree of variance on how closely, when actually that's on the lookalike. So, so like they will match based on what you upload. So they'll say, okay, here's the exact, here's the list that you uploaded, and they will take it and say, okay, here's exactly what you uploaded, and here's the people that we could find in our system. And they'll take it from there. Now, on the lookalike side, excuse me, and that's where they have like that variance of the 1% to 10%. It's like, okay, here's your list, and then you say, okay, go find me people just like this list. And you can say, okay, the 1% variance is like, okay, I want people identical to this. So for me, being in the golf niche, I want people that are like, yes, I want golfers. And then, so if I go to the 10% variance, they're going to like, okay, like if I go all the way over here, it's going to be, okay, it may be golfers, but they may not be, but they could be athletes. They could be into sports, so they may have some interest in your product. So, I mean, so there's going to be some degree variance.
So for those who may be missing what he's saying is that the higher you go on that particular spectrum, the less likely they are to meet your desired target market, but that doesn't mean that it's not impossible. So a lot of times what people will do is they will start off maybe 1% to 2%, and then maybe as the campaign begins to age, or maybe they kick back a low count on data, which is unlikely with Facebook. But if that happens, or you start running out of data, or you start to see like your CPL, which is your cost per lead, begin to climb up, then sometimes you can kind of redo like another list and then expand to like maybe 4% and maybe 6%, kind of keep expanding out like that. Or you can just do a general campaign, especially if it's something like not too product or genre specific, and just kind of put it out there. And then what will happen, what's pretty cool about the Facebook system, is the fact that it will begin to, like, based off of the people who are responding to the ad, it will adjust accordingly as well in real time. So that's one of the reasons why it's so important for us to be able to use these good, solid data sources, uploaded either to a custom audience and let it build like that, or utilize a lookalike audience and then let the system find individuals or things that will match that particular criteria, so that you can build and scale your campaign from there, be it Facebook, be it Instagram, it doesn't matter. But as you know, of course, on Instagram, it's going to be very image specific, image centric, but that's always a good starting point. And people say, oh, you know what's happening? The ad is following me around, or this company is following me around.
Oh yeah.
But that is the power of retargeting, remarketing, as some would call it. But I love the fact that we're taking some time to be able to touch on that, because there are some people that may not understand the significance of that. And just to drive it in a little bit more, I was running an ad campaign for a client. They were in the insurance industry. We tried just general leads, just based off of an audience, based off of a particular age range. And then there are other times, hint, hint, I went in and I took an aged list of like old data from like 6 months ago, 9 months ago, a year ago, put that into the system, and then did some of the things that we're talking about right now using that custom audience. using that lookalike audience, and it made my lead, the CPL, which means cost per lead, dropped down tremendously from, it was about $16 a lead, it dropped all the way down to $4 a lead. Like it dramatically changed the ad campaign. So you have to, this is what I mean, ladies and gentlemen, when I say data is king. Data is king. You do have somebody, Leo, my apologies, Jason, Leandro, I call him Leo for short. He's asking, he might be jumping the gun a little bit, but he's asking, where do you get the data from? And what's your go-to email and text campaign platform? So do you want to touch on that now or later?
We can touch on the data later. I know we're going to kind of circle back to that part a little bit later in the conversation. But for the email and text campaign platform, for email, I've kind of jumped back and forth between Active Campaign for email, but currently I'm using a system called Klaviyo, K-L-Y-V-I-O, Klaviyo, for email. They actually have an integrated text feature with it. It hasn't been the most user-friendly on the text platform for the price that they charge on it. But I actually, for all of our text messaging capabilities, I actually switched over to Go High Level just to do text. It's, I mean, because for the cost and the price and all of the, for everything you can do with it, yeah, I mean, for what we do, can't beat it.
So with the Go High Level, and for those who don't know, that's like a automated system. It's like a communications platform. It's a different type of CRM system. It's not as user-centric or as detailed as Zoho. This is more of like a drip campaign to touch them in several different ways. But a quick question for you, Jason. Are you using Go High Level for the drip campaign for SMS messaging, and you have like a bunch of triggers and so forth in the system, I'm assuming, or tell us more about that, but just briefly.
Yeah, so really all we have is I've got, essentially I've got a couple of just different templates set up. So based on what I want to have sent out. So when we're going to have, different promos, different specials that will go out, and then we just schedule them all out.
Okay. So, do you have anything in the system with that data that's action based as well, or is it just dripping on them, and then if they book an appointment or they take action, you're kind of going from there?
Actually, nothing's action based at this point, except for if they come back with, to take anybody off on like a D&D, like a do not disturb, like do not contact, anything like that. If anybody wants to come off the list, then obviously we have some, some triggers and things like that set up. But nothing, we don't book any appointments, nothing like that. We've got a couple of trigger links in there to go straight to our store, things like that, but nothing appointment based.
Okay. So we can kind of touch on that later. That's definitely going to be another session for automation science to kind of go into detail on like how you can really just drill it in and communicate with them certain actions and just kind of follow them along the way. There's lots of creative things that can be done. And I was just alluding to that can be done with High Level. It can also be done with a platform called Twilio. Thank you, Ebony. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you for tuning in. With Twilio, that's my favorite, but I'm a little, OCD. I'm like, kind of bad with that.
Well,
but
for High Level, you have to actually connect through Twilio. I mean, Twilio. Yeah.
Okay. So for me, I use Twilio Studio, and with Twilio Studio, you can literally build out like different workflows and so forth, like what you want the message to say, the different steps along the way. There's so many different things that you can have done with that very same data along the way to say, okay, now that we've had that first contact, and then it's like some type of drip campaign to keep following up with them, maybe steer them to your Facebook page in case they haven't gone to the page. Maybe they came from an email campaign, they responded to your email campaign, and then they came down to your SMS campaign by way of Go High Level or Twilio when you send them back to your Facebook page, so you can capture their pixel from a whole different perspective. And then once you do that from a whole different perspective, then now you're touching them on the other side as well. But I personally, when I build out campaigns for my clients or my students, will use a combination between Twilio and Zapier. So I know that I would assume that are you using Zapier or Integromat with the Go High Level, or you're just doing a raw integration on there?
Nope, we've just uploaded the list right into High Level, and we fund Twilio, and off it goes.
That's it. That's what's up. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So
simple as best.
it works. It works in so many different ways. Absolutely. So with I think we answered Leandro's question. He said,
we'll circle back to the data source a little bit later.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. So we've touched on several different things when it comes to different things that we can do with the data. We've touched on Facebook, we've touched on Instagram, we've touched on email. I'm sure we'll probably touch back on email because that'll lead up into the data. But what about ringless voicemails, RVMs? Are you using those at all?
I'm not currently, mostly because we're not really pushing for like any appointment setting, anything like that. I mean, just really haven't seen a need for it at this stage. Okay. I mean, it just depends. You can sell me on it. I mean,
so I'll say this. There's a couple of different ways that you can use the ringless voicemail. Let's say, for example, if maybe you want, like we do a missed call blitz, which basically you don't want to talk to anyone. You want them to call a phone number back. There's a way that you can have them call a particular phone number back, and you can configure either Twilio. You might be able to configure Go High Level to do it, but I know certain carriers, they have a way for you to be able to have it set up to where, like, when that call goes out, it's that automatic message. If and when they call back, they receive it, and it has the information that's maybe sending them to a splash page, or sending them to a landing page, sending them to a messenger bot. And when that happens, then now you have other ways to communicate. You're not using a whole lot of call time. You're blitzing and communicating. You again using that same data, and you're blitzing and talking to so many people, thousands of people within that time frame, to start driving traffic into whichever direction you want to do. So I would say, if you haven't considered it already, I mean, it's definitely worth looking into. I almost never do ringless voicemail to the point of like leaving the voicemails on the phone, because I'm not gonna say nobody's gonna listen, but most of the time, like, they're just not. You'll get people that will see the missed call, and maybe later they'll call the missed call back to see who it is, or they might pull up like the number that might be associated with like your landing page or whatever. But what I found to be the most successful, hint, with the ringless voicemail is when we launch that particular campaign with that data, we will get those phone calls to go out. Once those phone calls goes out, it's not designed. I mean, we could send them to like a IVR system if you wanted to. That has worked really well in the past, but not right now. Just no. But if you have them do that missed call campaign, they don't catch the call, they can't receive it, because ringless voicemail it's just a missed call anyway. They see that on there, they can either text or reply. What we've done is sent them to a messenger bot and or a splash page. We did an A/B campaign. And with that A/B campaign, you can send them to the splash page. But as you know, that splash page or that landing page or that squeeze page, you can Google different terms. They all mean the same. It obviously has to be on point. You can probably use Go High Level for that as well. But you know me, I'm like the messenger bot queen. So we send everybody to the messenger bot. But that's because we want to be able to talk back to them, even if they don't take any action, to help to boost conversions in that capacity. But yeah, so one thing that we've tried that has worked really well is when they call that missed call back, and a lot of them will, then we'll have like that text message as soon as it comes in. We'll say, I can't speak right now, or I can't talk right now, I'm helping another customer. to do please visit, and we give them a link, or to chat with us online, please visit, and it'll send them to our messenger bot. Or if we're trying to book appointments and that's the objective, we'll send them to our online calendar. If that's not it, then, you know, maybe you have a video form, we can send them to that. But it's a different way to not only do or to execute creative marketing with that data, but to also give that individual a little bit of a little twist to how they can communicate with you, but then also respond to you accordingly when you're popping up in the system, so that they can ask you whatever questions they have to ask even after they've responded. Now, granted, you're going to get some people, take me off your list and but that's just, it's the nature of the beast. But I just wanted to kind of share that nugget with you and anyone else who may be listening, because, you know, Ringless voicemail, it's all about creativity. And yeah, some things are going to get old and people are going to get tired of it or whatever, but if you keep reinventing yourself in different ways to be able to communicate with them and to get them to respond, there's so many different things that you can do from that point going forward.
Absolutely.
All right, so we covered Ringless voicemail, we covered Facebook, Instagram, we're going to circle back on email. Is there any other way that you're like these different data sources can be used to communicate with your prospects?
I mean, that's really the main ones. I mean, short of, actual, you know, dropping in the dialer. I mean, if you want to, if your business model supports that, I've got one guy that we do some setup for. He does, he's got, his business model's a little bit different. He's based kind of in, I think he's in northern Florida, if memory serves. So he's kind of right there between Florida and Georgia, right in that space. But he's got a call center set up, and so you're talking about you'll recognize the phrase churning data. They go through a lot of data, but essentially they just pound the phones, and they will take, you know, list upon list and put it inside a dialer, and they just sit there and essentially they just wait for somebody to pick up the phone, and it is the epitome of a telemarketing center, and they're just waiting for somebody to pick up the phone so they can talk to somebody, and they're selling solar. And so,
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, you know, I have had quite a few clients actually that we've built campaigns out like that, and we actually used it for like recruiting. If we were hiring for B2B, I've used that technique for like credit repair. I've used that technique for, I haven't used it yet for the grant program. I'll see. We'll you know, maybe give it a go later on. But there's so many different ways that it can be done. But one thing that we found to be very, very helpful, and this is a little bit more advanced, but we took an IVR. So before it got to a live representative, what we did was we took all the little hot buttons, of their hottest selling points, put that on the IVR and gave them a bunch of different key press options. And then when we took those different key press options based off of whatever their need was, that was going to pretty much the same call center, but they could see like on their screen when the call came through. And this was on like their cell phone, whatever line that they had. When they did that, they could actually communicate with that particular individual and know like what their hot button was, what their level of interest was, and things of that nature, so that they can help, you know, close that sale a lot sooner. And then again, something super cool that we did even with the IVR is the moment that they took an action. And for those who don't know what an IVR is, like interactive voice response, anytime you call like T-Mobile or AT&T or any type of corporate entity, that's an IVR. When it gives you press 1, press 2, say 1, say 2, you can do that with the different IVR systems. You can even do that with Twilio if you wanted to, but what will happen is they will be able to take a certain action, and then you can also send them, maybe you're marketing an ebook, maybe it's $9, or maybe you're giving it away for free, maybe you are an STR specialist. We've got quite a few STR people that are in our program students right now, to where, maybe you send them a free guide or a free ebook on like level 1 and let them learn about it. All of these things are deliverables that can be delivered in real time and help you to scale. Okay, so the reason why I'm touching on that is because, again, same data, but you're working to duplicate yourself and to be able to make it happen in more ways than one.
Absolutely. Yeah,
okay, so
absolutely.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Nope.
No, I was saying, the possibilities, the uses for it, are just, people always, they never cease to amaze me I'll get on a conversation with somebody and they, it just, every time I get on a conversation with somebody and they come up with something different and they're like, hey, well, here's what I want to do. Or it's like, hey, can I do this? And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah.
Right. Now, with the data that you work with, I'm not sure if it comes with like any direct mail information, or if you're doing any like data append services. So can you briefly touch on that? If it doesn't have it, no big deal, that's fine. But I know that you are like the data king in that regard. So I think you've done other campaigns to where you were able, or you have access to that data to touch on direct mail as well. So can we talk about that really briefly?
Yeah, and I guess direct mail is another way that we could kind of discuss with that, especially both of us kind of coming from the insurance background there. Direct mail is a very, very active one, especially with open enrollment going on right now for a lot of our insurance friends. With the data that we source, a lot of them do come with that mailing address. So it does have that. Not all, but I would say a good majority of them do. And that's a good way to kind of transition into, I guess I'd say, the next topic that we probably should cover is, the kind of the doing your due diligence of kind of like scrubbing against, like email scrubbing and DNC rules and things like that when it comes to email and text campaigns and things like that. As far as, playing by the rules when it comes to, not contacting and things like that. As anytime we have these conversations, it is worth mentioning, and spending some amount of time just to make sure that we're educating properly.
Yes.
But to your point, yes, we can do some direct mail. But yeah, you always want to make sure that you're scrubbing the list properly and making sure that that who you are contacting is not on any
call list, not on the do not mail list. A lot of people don't know that there's literally a do not mail list, and if you don't comply with that, there are penalties and stuff that are associated with that as well. You're absolutely right. Now, can we kind of dig into that though? Because there are some people that's like, oh yeah, I scrub against the DNC. Well, there's different types of DNC. Do you have to do that? Well, I know the answer, but I'm going to play devil's advocate. Do you have for email, text, phone calls? Like, let's talk about that.
All right, let's break those down kind of one at a time, because each one's kind of their own animal. So let's start. All right, let's start with kind of the easy one here. Email. All right, so if you're going to email a data list, it's not only is it just smart to scrub an email list before you're going to start campaigning to it. And before you start, and all right, I'm going to kind of get on my soapbox here. Before you start campaigning to an email list, number one, let's just say, for a nice round number, you have a list of 5,000 people. Okay. And that may seem like a lot. And to some people it is. I know I mentioned earlier that mine was bigger than that. Whatever. Let's just say 5,000 people. The last thing you want to do is come right out of the gate on day one and just start email blasting 5,000 people. please, if you hear nothing else tonight, please don't do that.
Don't do that.
So the first thing you want to
your
do
IP address, you burn your email address, you burn everything by doing that.
You're going to burn your IP address. You're going to burn your domain. You're toast from the get-go. And it just, I'm just going to go on a limb and say there's no coming back from that. I mean, there are, but it's just this.
It's tough to. It's really tough to come back from that.
Yeah, it's just not worth the fight, and you're just better buying a new domain and just starting over. I'll just put it that way. And she's kind of nodding her head because she knows. So it's just not worth the fight. It's just buy a new domain for like $10-12 and move on. But anyway, so what you're going to want to do is, first thing, as soon as you get your list, you're going to want to do what's called scrubbing that list. You're going to essentially take that list, you're going to want to scrub that to make sure that all of the emails that are on that list are still valid, that none of them are going to be what's called like a dead email, or that they're not going to bounce. So that you're not sending emails to basically nowhere. So you want to make sure that of your 5,000 emails that you have, that they're all still valid emails. So, and then from there, and once you do that, your 5,000 emails may go down to 4,700. You don't know, but that's okay, because that's protecting your IP and your domain. So what you want to do from there, you're going to start scaling into this. So you're going to start off by you're going to send 20 to 30 emails at a time. You're going to kind of step into it slowly. And honestly, what I did when I started doing mine, you okay?
Go ahead.
I'm putting you to sleep.
Don't pay me no mind.
I'm putting her to sleep over here.
No, you're not. Gosh.
No, and honestly, what I did with mine, the first like 5 emails that I sent out, I actually put in my own private email addresses. I sent them to myself, and then once I did that, here's a little trick that I tell people. Once I sent them to myself, I replied to myself, and then because what you want to do, and here's why. Because the sender, so Klaviyo, and whether you do Klaviyo, ActiveCampaign, no matter what platform you're using, they want to know that you're not a spammer. So they don't know that it's still me on the other end. Okay. So when I send to this end, all they see is there's a reply. Okay. And then if I reply back, they say, okay, there's communication going on.
Right. It's alive.
So they know it's not spam. So that builds up my reputation on the server end. Okay. So, but I mean, it's still me, but it's kind of building up that reputation on the server. So do that. Throw your spouse's email on there. Throw your friends on there. Just saying, hey, all I need you to do, don't matter if it's just bang on the keyboard and some gibberish. Does not matter. Just hit reply, put a bunch of gibberish on there, and hit send. That's all I need from you.
So I'm assuming that when you're warming up, you're doing them in what I would call a tranche from a financial standpoint, but you're doing them in segments. So after you've done that, or after you've taken that particular action, how quickly are you scaling? Are you doing them 100 at a time, every hour? Is it 100 a day, 500 a day? Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So what we did with ours, we started off, I think we did about 30 in our first list. Just kind of started scaling it in for about a first week. I think that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just kind of slowly kind of build up that reputation. Got a few replies that weren't me. And just kind of, again, just kind of building up that reputation, just kind of slowly building up, a broader scope with it. And then from there, then we went to like our first segment, I think it was about 1,000. And then we kind of slowly just kind of started, building it out from there. And, but the beautiful thing about email marketing is once you have those emails built, they're set. You don't have to go back and rebuild them. It's
Okay.
so so when we started emailing for the first 30, it was like, okay, now I'm going to take email one and I'm going to send it to this 1,000. Okay, now that I've got that in motion, and now I'm going to go to this 1,000. I'm going to send, guess what? Email one. So now we're just gonna like moving down the line. It's the
Okay.
same email sequences. It's just I'm changing from list one to list two to list three to list four. So now I've just got it broken down into little chunks, and I'm
Okay.
just kind of moving it down the line.
Okay. What's the maximum, I guess, with Klaviyo per diem?
Like how many emails I can send a day?
Mm-hmm.
So what, we hadn't hit it yet.
Okay, okay. I always like to be able to know because there are certain sources out there. For example, with
Yeah.
with Zoho, unless you're using Zoho Mail, like the Zoho CRM on its own has a maximum of 1,000 a day if you're doing like a batch email. But then if you're
Right.
using Zoho Mail, then it's like it's different tiers: 2,500 a day,
Got it.
5,000 a day, 10,000 a day, 25,000 a day, and they just keep going up from there. But they get
Right.
really aggressive. So I always like to just kind of bring that to the forefront as well as we're speaking of
Sure.
warming up different email lists and so forth. Just out of curiosity, would you recommend that any of the students here or the standard listeners, maybe they're not students, but they happen to be in the group or something like that, but would you recommend that they use some of those sources that will say, they'll do the email blast for you if you give them the list type of a scenario, or no?
Yes and no.
Okay.
They can. I would say if you're going to, obviously a few things on that. If you're going to first with anything, get some recommendations. Find out who they've worked with. Find out who they've worked with in your space, because like for me, I'm not much on copywriting, but like I had a guy that came in and was like, hey, like I'm great at doing copywriting for subscription boxes. And I was like, okay, that's kind of like an odd niche. Like, who have you worked with? And turns out he had worked with a guy that I knew. So what did I do? I went to Facebook Messenger and I was like, hey, Derek, this guy says he knows you and he did all of your email copywriting. And turns out he did, and like ended up being a great fit. So like find out if they've done any work in your specific niche, and if they work in your space. So I mean, get some recommendations if they do, and find out exactly what they're going to be doing. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those who may not be aware of how critical that is, your copy will really make or break your entire email campaign. It's your headline first, obviously. If your headline isn't catchy enough, if it's not getting their attention, you definitely do have to try different email campaigns when you are headlines when you're deploying your email campaign, just to make sure that you're really touching on their hot buttons, getting their attention. Sometimes you have to even try to see like what's the best time to send the different email campaigns as well. Is it 8 a.m. in the morning, or is it 8 p.m. in the evening? Is it 11 a.m. or 11 p.m., 7 a.m. or 7 p.m.? But once you find that out, then you can build and scale from there. But either way, if your headline is poor, you're going to have a really low open rate. If
Right.
it looks very salesy or like an ad or whatever, you're going to have usually you're going to have a really low open rate, or Gmail is going to put you in the promotions tab. If you sometimes it's a good idea to reference that individual in the subject line, like speak to them directly with their name or something like that, so that they know that maybe you're not just some rando that's spamming them. You can help to increase your open rate in that capacity. But that's not it. The story isn't over. You have to be able to have good enough copy inside of that email so that when that individual opens the email, you're closing them, but then, well, not even closing them, but maintaining their attention, and then also including proper CTAs, which are call to actions in those emails to get them to take some type of action. I can't stand when I'm like going through my email, I'm like, you finally got me to open your email, there's not a single CTA. Now I have to work to find you things on the website, do this, do that. Now I even know I am on your website. Like, you definitely want to take some time to think about what you're going to put in those emails. And like Jason said, if you find somebody with a good ad copy, but then even then, before you just go out there all willy-nilly and just launch an email campaign, you definitely want to take some time to do a little test here and there to see how they're responding to different headlines, along with different types of copy, to ensure that you're speaking the right language to your prospects who are actually responding to the emails that are coming through.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, and don't get me wrong, there are people that I know some of them that do a wonderful job at, like, hey, just hand me your list, we will manage it all, and you just sit back and worry about sales and running your business and do what you do, and we'll do what we do. And they're great. But they're not all like that. I mean, and that's in any industry. I mean, there's a lot of that out there in any space. So I just say fact check always, and ask for references always. So I guess we can leave it at that.
Yeah, well, and you know, and just to do a little bit of a caution, even then, ladies and gentlemen, even if someone has good references, even if they have good reviews, things happen, things change, systems change, and so forth. So sometimes, like, Jason could have used somebody and it was like kick-ass campaign. You're like, oh my God, I had an 80% open rate, and I'm like, what? Okay, I'm gonna try it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the same type of results. So I just want to make sure we're setting realistic expectations in the business world, and to just also keep in mind, like, I'm not saying to go out and waste money all willy-nilly, but at least don't be afraid to test the market, because you won't know until you test. But then also, when you do, even good references, bad references, just maintain your expectations so that you know what to expect. But then dip your toe in there. Okay, I'm gonna try this and see what happens. That worked, that didn't work. Okay, I'll try a different headline or whatever the case may be, and then circle back or scale accordingly from there. So it's levels to this, but you're absolutely right. Be careful, because some people will legit take your list, charge you for the campaign, and will not run your campaign. Then you're looking real serious, because you're like, nothing happened. You're thinking maybe you've got a bad headline or a bad copy, not knowing that individual might not have even run your campaign at all.
Or, I mean, while that sounds terrible, or even worse, do a terrible job and completely burn your list, and you've got to start completely over. I've seen that. And I say that because I've seen that happen, where people think they're doing you a favor, they're doing you a service, and they've taken your list and they've just completely just ran everything into the ground. And now your reputation is smashed. And while you had momentum, and now, I mean, so like I said, I've seen that happen, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, you lose a lot of momentum that way, and then you have to turn around and buy a fresh list. And then with data, there have been times where I've seen them run a campaign was so good, they turn around and got this. If they happen to maybe have another client in the same niche, they may turn around and like try to take that same list and then just beat it to the ground as well with different ad campaigns. And so that makes it a little bit hairy too, because do keep in mind that a lot of these internet service providers, they do keep up with that, like the different IP addresses, the domains, and all of that, when those emails and so forth are going through. So we are not at all trying to intimidate you. We're just wanting to set some realistic expectations on what to expect, but don't give up. Don't give up. Like, just keep going, keep trying. Don't be afraid to acquire more data. As you have heard on this session, there's so many different ways that you can use the data, be it email, SMS, phone, just whatever, direct mail. You can just keep repurposing that list until you've, accomplished whatever goal you have set forth. Now, I don't know if you're done with touching on that, but I do think that we should touch back a little bit on compliance. We kind of touched on compliance a little bit, but then we went to some other things. I can touch on the FCC side from a telephonic level, but what do you have in mind or in place, or what has your experience been for compliance from an email standpoint?
As far as that goes, really, we just try to stay in the confines of like, hey, we scrub the list, and as long as it is good, and if somebody emails back and they're like, hey, take us off your list, like, hey, we just do that. And every now and then, like if they're in communication with us, it depends on the tone of it. A lot of times, we'll just, hey, no problem. We'll just take it off right then and there. A lot of times if it's conversational, sometimes we will, reply back and just, hey, not a problem. We've removed you from our list, have a great day, something like that. It just kind of depends on the tone of what comes back. But from an email that's pretty much as far as compliance goes on the email side. Now, to kind of segue over to what's more, I feel like your specialty on, there are some things I would like to touch on as far as like the approach on the marketing of the text messaging. But real quick, while we're talking about compliance, please touch on the compliance of like
from a telephonic and SMS standpoint.
Yes.
So the phones is where it gets quite hairy, which is why I personally am such a big fan of the missed call type of situation, because you can kind of lean on that a little bit differently. I missed out, my bad. You get what I'm saying? But if it's really, really important, a lot of people, especially if they have a predictive dialer for their campaigns and they want to use a predictive dialer, the FCC often does still consider that to be a robocall. Kind of weird. I mean, do you really want me to manually dial every single phone number? That's ridiculous. But that's how they are sometimes. Well, outside of that, if you're going to use that predictive dialer, you cannot call someone's cell phone, because you cannot call someone to incur a debt in order to communicate with them if they are not your explicit customer, or if they did not give you written authorization in order for you to be able to communicate with them in that capacity. So that is one of the things that I love about Facebook. They make us put like terms that, you know how like on the lead forms, they have terms and conditions and stuff. They have to agree to that before they can submit their form. They don't read it, but at least you can CYA when it comes to that and say, here it is right here. This is what it said. Right. It said we're going to talk to you this way. And then there's other things obviously that can be done to protect you a little bit more as well. But outside of that, if you don't have their express permission to be able to communicate with them on that mobile phone, you can get the penalty. I think it was like last time I checked, and I could be wrong, it's always changing, but just like up to $14,000 per phone number, like per individual. If you violate in that capacity, there's trouble on the horizon. So for that reason, that's why I prefer to do like the missed call type of campaigns. I'm not really a fan of like via Ringless voicemail, just because of the fact that you never know. I haven't done a predictive dialer campaign in forever because nobody really use landlines anymore. But there's a particular provider. I gave you the name of that, Jason. You remember the name I gave you? DNC. Hold on one second. There's a provider out there that will scrub your data. And what they would do for you, let me go real quick. What they would do, come on. They will scrub, there it is. Yeah, so it's Contact Center. The name is called Contact Center Compliance, or DNC.com. They're like super on point when it comes to so many different things, but what tends to happen is they will scrub for mobile numbers, they will scrub for voice over IP numbers, they will scrub for landlines, and they will take your list and break it out into all these little zip drives or these little files, and then they'll all be CSV spreadsheets, and they'll let you know that, hey, you communicate at your own risk, but this is what we found based off of these phone numbers. The ones that you really want to focus on with landlines, it's okay for you to call them with the predictive dialer. You do have to have one that's like super on point, no pause, no hold time. It's just live connect. As soon as they pick up the phone, you have to be on it. But then I think that may very well be changing at the top of 2022. So you definitely want to contact center compliance. Go ahead and subscribe to those emails. They are really good with communicating with you. The good part about them is what they do is, let's say, for example, if maybe there's a certain state that's amid a state of emergency, does it matter if it's a cell phone, if it's a landline, if it's on the DNC or it's not on the DNC, which is the do not call list? You cannot call them under any circumstances for anything marketing whatsoever. If not, the FCC will get in that butt and you won't have a problem. So for that reason, you want to be very careful with that. But then outside of that, one thing that I pay very much attention to is the litigators. Litigators are like professional. They're like at the ambulance chasers of telephones. And so basically what will happen is, I kid you not, they have phone rooms, multiple phones in the room, sitting there waiting for someone to make the mistake and call them. As soon as they make the mistake, individual may make the mistake and give them a phone call, they will file a suit with the FCC and other entities to exploit you, to get money out of you. So it's super important to don't play with that. Go ahead and spend the money, scrub that data. When they give it to you, just pay attention on the different files that you might receive. Some people will try to go to one that's like free, free 99. I'm just going to go use this one just because it's cost effective. And I'm going to be pissed off because you have nothing to fall back on. This was just some online source. It's a business expense, ladies and gentlemen. So because it's a business expense, go ahead and get that right off and do it the right way, because otherwise you can regret it. Let's just say, for example, if you really want to push that point in, let's just say, for example, it's a list of 5,000 prospects and maybe 500 on there were on the DNC, or maybe they were litigators, or whatever the case may be. You could face fines of up to $7 million if you mess around and violate, because maybe 500 of the 5,000 you had a bad list and you got in trouble. And the way it works, they're not going to slap your hand or anything like that. They're going to give you a penalty. Now, granted, 14,000 is, like, last time I checked, that was max penalty. But either way, even if it was $1,400, 1,400 times 500, that's $700,000. And if you're not even a multi-million-dollar business, or shoot, even if you are, who wants to give away that type of money because you violated the law or the FCC when it comes to that? There are a lot of people who will get really, really comfortable, and they'll say, oh, it's never going to happen, and this doesn't happen. Don't play. Don't play, because that'll be just your luck. It'll happen to you if you don't take it seriously, and then there could be a problem that will arise from that. So again, they are called contact. It went away. Contact center compliance. The guy I usually work with is Ron or Ryan. Is a couple of different ones, but hold on one second. They have a couple of different entities there. They do have nice pricing tiers. I may be able, if you're a science student, I may be able to like work out some things to where we can have like a both thing. You give us your list and then we just put everyone's list together and break it out like that. Because they do have like quantities, wholesale quantities, larger quantities. Hey, that's a whole company right there. But anyway, they have different options for that to help keep you in compliance. But I'm looking right now at my phone, and they don't even send a whole lot of emails, like maybe once a week or something like that, unless there's an issue. But they even provide good tips about if your call's being blocked, if you're having a low connect rate, and they help you navigate through that. So I know I got a little long-winded, but I really just wanted to make sure that y'all don't play. Take it seriously. The FCC is not gonna slap you on your hand. Their slap on the hand is going to be that young penalty that you're going to get. Sometimes they'll send you a cease and desist asking you to stop. And if you don't stop, that's an issue. But For those who think that it won't happen to them, I actually know you can pull up cases. I think like Comcast got in trouble with them. There was a company in Chicago from an SMS standpoint that got in trouble with them. Because this lady, what happened, like she was subscribed, but maybe she didn't unsubscribe or something happened. And they were sending her like commercial emails, text messages, and who does this? I don't know, but she happened to not have free text messages, and it ran up her phone bill, and so she sued them. She sued them and won. So that's another thing. You all cannot play with those SMS messages. I talked about the phone numbers. That's one part. But when it comes to the SMS messages, you still have to make sure that you're scrubbing against DNC, that you are honoring them. When they say stop, dang on it, stop. Like just stop. Just let it go. Go to the next prospect, especially whether they're new or old, like just don't play with that. But go ahead, Jason. Right. I'm sure you're going to add as well.
No, and that's absolutely right. Because I mean, when you've got to stop doing it. When they ask to be taken off your list, when they say stop, unsubscribe, whatever. And that's one thing that I like about the high level platform is we can go in there, and anytime there's any type of negative response, you can set it up to where it can gauge the response. It's not just like, you can say if it's a specific response. So if it's no or unsubscribe or stop or whatever, you can have that trigger to, do not contact. But you can just set it to where if it's any type of negative response at all. Because I've had people that'll just come back and cuss us out, like, F off or whatever. And, people are rude, whatever. You catch them they're having a bad day. They just
or something,
or whatever. So you never know. So, if they're, whatever it is, you can just catch that negative response and it'll instantly just take them off of that list, and you don't have to worry about it. So, you're absolutely right. As soon as they ask to be taken off, just stop, leave them alone. It's costing you money every time you send them one. So why do you keep doing it? Like it's just a couple of cents, but that stuff adds up. So why keep counting them if it's not making you money? Why? So,
absolutely.
But really, what I wanted to add to it is, earlier in this conversation, I was saying that we send 2 text messages per week to our list. Now, if you start to add that up, what I mentioned is at that time was, don't be on somebody's cell phone unless you have a purpose for it. Mm-hmm. Every time I text our list is not with my hand out saying, give me your money. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not always saying, hey, I've got a promotion. Hey, I've got a shirt to sell. Hey, I've got this nice product you need to go check out. It's not doing that. Sometimes it's as simple as hey, just want to say thank you for being on our list. I really appreciate you. Your support means everything to us. Mm-hmm. I've had people that have reached out to us just saying, hey, you know what? That really made me smile today.
Mm-hmm. Or even those, I call them kit marketing. Those happy birthday, happy new year, like happy holidays, like you would be amazed. Like it seems like those things don't matter, but people will reply back and they're like, man, thank you so much for sending that to me. Like, maybe nobody called them that whole dang on day, but your one text message that might have been annoying to them any other time, that might give you the green light or an all access pass, because they're like, this person remembered me and made me feel like a human being and not a phone number. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But Jason, do you give any freebies away? Like maybe I don't know, calendar or ebook or something. Do you do that?
I tell you what I'm going to do next month. My mentor actually gave me this one. So here's what we're going to do. And I thought this was genius. And when he first told me this, my eyes got this big, as I was like, no way am I going to do this. And I'm going out on a leap of faith that this is gonna work. And it's kind of clenching up thinking about it. He said, all right, so you can go to Starbucks and you can get a digital gift card, create a basic landing page with a QR code. And so you'll send out this text message to your whole list and say, hey, just want to thank you for being on our list. We appreciate you. Your support means everything. Go grab a cup of coffee on us.
Yep. Oh, it works. Don't get it twisted. Oh, that's going to work.
But, and I said, dude, Drew, you have lost your mind to send this out to 10,000 people. He said, I've been doing this for 4 years. Ask me how many times, ask me how much I've spent in a month doing this. I was like, dude, you've lost your ever-loving mind. He said, I've never spent more than $100 in a month. He said, it's never cost me more than $100 each time I've done it.
So let me tell you.
People don't go down there. He said a couple of times, a lot of people that go down there and they'll end up buying like 4 cups of coffee, or they'll go down there and do all this. I'll put them on blast on my social media. I'll call them out because it gives you a record on your phone of like who does what. I'll go, oh, I see Brenda got down there and bought coffee for her whole office. And I'll go, oh, Brenda, why did you do this? Da, 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 da. And people have fun with it. And people have fun with it, and it becomes this whole thing.
So listen, so that's gutsy. That's gutsy. I didn't realize you were talking about like a credit card of sorts.
But you go down to your local Starbucks and you like basically say, hey, I'm going to do this, and they'll put like it's a open-ended thing, and you just send it out.
So I've tried that with for those who may not be as gutsy as like Jason and this other guy. You can
I'm a little tense about it. I don't know.
Nah. Okay, so maybe if it's like a VIP list or something like that, I would do that. You get what I'm saying? But just a list of 10,000 random. Hey, it's worth a shot. It's the end of the year. Maybe you need some write-offs. Give it a go. I don't know. I don't know. But
I may start with a small list. I don't know.
Oh yeah, just a little taste test to see how crazy.
Right.
But you're right though, because I've done that exact same concept with restaurant gift cards. And with those restaurant gift cards, what I did was I reached out to their corporate office and I got them in bulk, and they gave me like 3 spreadsheets of like $20, $50, and $100 little digital gift cards, and I delivered those as an SMS message to where obviously I shortened the link. This is where rebrandly links for your brand will come into play. You can create all these different links to be able to go out to them or whatever the case may be. But what I ended up doing was based off of maybe what type of customer they were. Most people would get like a $25 one. Other ones would get a $50 one, and others would get like a $100 one. But with those, what we did was it was like I think like, oh yeah, the $100 ones were like $10. The $25 ones were like $5. The $50 ones were like $5. And the $25 ones was like weird. It was like $2.50. But obviously I got a whole bunch of them. But they love that kind of stuff because it just makes them feel value. But here's the weird part. Like you said, they don't use it. So for me, I didn't have to, I paid for a certain amount. I negotiated a deal with them to where they gave it to me, that particular representative. I'm gonna say their representative, not them as in corporate entity. They gave it to me on consignment. So I paid for X amount, and then they gave the rest to me on consignment. And then as they went to go redeem them, they used to bill me like, yeah, you had like 20 people go to redeem their restaurant.com gift cards or whatever the case may be. And then once that happened, I would just pay the invoice. I was on like a net 30. For those who don't know, you got 30 days to be able to pay the bill. And then from there, that works tremendously because they can pick their restaurant versus you picking something for them. Now, obviously, if you're in a rural area that's in the sticks, good luck with that. I can't help you with that. But it does give them, now you're getting sleepy. It does give them the warm and fuzzies though, because now they're like, okay, this person thought about me and this and that and the third. So again, so for those who may not be as gutsy, or maybe they don't have a Starbucks card or whatever the case may be, you can at least try that to kind of get things going as well. But yeah, do let us know. Come in the group, Jason, to post it.
Yeah, the whole point of that is, you don't always have to like give stuff away necessarily. Maybe you've got like an ebook that you can give away. Maybe it's like tips to your audience. Maybe it's resources. Maybe it's a blog post that will help your audience. Maybe it's something special to your niche. Just if you're going to do text messages to your audience, don't always have your hand out. And I guess I can leave it at that. Just don't always be asking for something every time you're going to end up in on their phone. If you do that, you're gonna burn them so fast.
Yeah, you will. And you know what else you can do as well, if maybe you're on a budget and maybe you only have one. Let's say, for example, Jason, you went and got like, maybe your product or your service like goes really well with coffee lovers. Maybe you do coffee mugs, or maybe you have a really cute t-shirt, hint, hint, with the super cute saying about coffee on there. Okay. But what you can do is you can get or acquire one digital gift card. And if you acquire that digital gift card, you can even do that as a giveaway. Right. To where, like, maybe you have some type of program on your page or your Instagram or whatever the case may be for those individuals to participate in that giveaway. When they go into the giveaway, they're coming to your page or to your bot or to your wherever to learn about that giveaway. But then they are also like, okay, well, this person offers this product. So, oh, I like her coffee shirt. That's so cute. Or, oh, I like that coffee mug. It's a cat. I'm cat. I love cats. Whatever. You're taking that opportunity to drive traffic to your page and build brand awareness at that point in time. So that's another really, really cool way, again, especially if you're on a budget, to give back. Like you're supposed to give twice as much as you take so that customer doesn't burn out on your list, especially if they've allowed you to text them.
Absolutely. Definitely.
All right. So I think we covered that one, Jason. What's next for us? I know we're saving the best for last, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about.
I see Leo had a question up here. Leo, message me when we get done here. I think you're still in insurance, if I remember right. And we can kind of talk offline. I've got a few people that I can probably point you to as far as because really just for the broad audience, if you're looking for recommendations on who to point you to as far as help with managing your email campaigns and everything, I do have a few people that I would recommend, but it's really just going to kind of depend on what category you're in, what specialty, what industry, that kind of thing. Everybody kind of has their own niche that they specialize in. Because somebody may be really good at marketing to insurance. Somebody may be really good at doing e-com. Somebody may be really good at this or that or whatever. So yeah, it just kind of depends on. I can't just be like, yeah, go see this person and they just crush it at everything. Because nobody's good at everything.
Absolutely. Now, one last question before we start to go into the direction of like the data and the things that we're saving the best for last. Just out of curiosity, when you're doing your email campaigns, do you tend to do, how some of those marketers, they'll do like this one line format, one line, and it's really punchy, but somehow it's like super effective. But then they don't have any buttons or anything like that on there. They just, it's not pretty or anything. It's so basic, but it's like apparently highly effective when they do that. And then if not, do you include any like cute little buttons in your email, or are you just like whatever, like take action?
With ours, we tend to mix it up a little bit with, obviously, like you mentioned earlier, kind of using their name in the subject line if we can.
Okay.
So we've done that. Obviously getting very creative, doing some kind of split testing with the subject lines, what's getting the better percentage open rates, which obviously we're doing really well with right now. I've kind of shared some of that with you, leading up to this, but yeah. So as far as content, what's working for us really well right now, it's not really kind of that punch list style, but we're actually incorporating a few pictures. Really just kind of depends on what the subject is of that particular email.
Okay.
But yeah, really just at the bottom of it, we'll just have like one, hey, kind of click here, visit it, visit the site if it's a, actual like a clear, hey, we're trying to push them to the website for something, or if it is if it's like a survey. I think email 2 of our sequence is we're really trying to get that engagement for a reply. It's hey, are you struggling with this or with this? If you could, take a quick second, just reply back to this email, let us know. Which is again just building up that reputation.
Okay.
And we got a lot of response back from that. So that was just like a real short email. That I think email 3 was just kind of like more of the story of how we got started and everything like that.
Okay.
Which did have like a picture, and so it was like a bit of a longer format.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. All right. So then I'm just trying to make sure we touched on all the different ways that we can use data to maximize our revenue. And really quickly though, so for those who may not be aware, there is a woman, you'll have to Google her. I don't remember her name, but she has an online boutique. And when Black Friday released, this lady legit cleared over $1 million on Black Friday. That did not happen by just slapping stuff on social media and seeing what works. Like, she was very strategic about her endeavors. She did SMS, she did emails, she did Instagram, she did influencer marketing, she did viral marketing, she did engagement marketing, she did affiliate marketing. But along the way, all of that can include like different types of data. She killed the game. But again, that's why we say data is king. And even if you don't necessarily have like a really long list or whatever, you should be literally taking the whole year, getting ready for the peak sales season, no matter really what industry you're in, just to get ready for stuff like this, to start building your following base, to build your customer base, to get those opt-ins. I will say this is slightly off on a tangent, but never get complacent with Facebook followers. Oh, I have 10,000 or 20,000, 50,000 followers, and then you're like, I'm good. No. They will throttle you in a heartbeat, and you don't have a way to communicate with your prospects, and then you're in trouble. So you definitely want to make sure that you're warming up your different email lists and so forth. But that is a part of how she was able to get that level of success in one day on Black Friday. And it sounds like I hear people now, yeah, right. Nope. There are people that really do that, but yeah, it takes work to be able to do that in preparation throughout the whole year when it comes time for you to be able to do that. But going back.
Well, I was just saying, and you said it perfectly, look what happened. What was it, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when Facebook shut down for a day and everybody just freaked out and didn't know what to do. And everybody was just kind of like it was like Ricky Bobby, like, what do I do? Like, everybody's just kind of standing there like, what do I do with myself? And it's like, if your business shuts down because a social media platform went dark for a day, you're in trouble.
Well, let's talk about that. That's a real life situation, because you saw me go through that. I went through some things with Facebook. They're a little funny with certain ad types. I'll just say it that way. They mess around and like deactivated my whole. First, they deactivated my ad account because they miscategorized my ad, and then after they miscategorized my ad, then like they was like, whoops, my bad, didn't mean to just miscategorize it, we're sorry for the inconvenience. They came back, reactivated the ad ran for 2 more days, boom, their system did it again. It was an algorithm change or an error, came back up, did it again. About 3, 4, 5 days later, it happened again. There's so many times that can occur before Facebook outright shuts your whole dang on account down. And so what they did was, silly me, not knowing any better, pay attention to what I'm saying right now. I had signed into different accounts, mini chat and this and that with a Facebook. I was locked out. I was locked
Everything.
out. I lost so many clients that month because of that, because I was locked out of my account my accounts plural for over 10 days. And Jason, you remember I called you like, oh my God, can you run some ads for me? Because I'm out. There's nothing I could do. You remember that? Yeah,
I
it's
remember
not a
it was stressful.
yes.
It
Don't
was,
ever get too comfortable with Facebook, because you're giving them too much control. And if you
yeah.
don't acquire these contacts, if you don't grab these emails, if you don't start building that email list or start cultivating and warming up that list, like Jason said, anything can happen and you can be screwed. What are you going to do then? What?
Yeah.
That's it? Yeah.
Because I mean, it's I can't remember what year it was, and Trey, you may remember, but I forgot what they actually call it. But there was a day that Google did something similar, where one day they just I can't remember what it was. I was reading about it, and I think it was Russell Brunson's book. One of his, I think it was Traffic Secrets, where he was talking about this, where like Google just all of a sudden, just one day, anybody that was spending less than $10,000 a month, all of a sudden it was just gone.
Gone. No, they hiked it or it was gone.
Do what?
I said they hiked it or it was gone.
It was gone.
Okay,
Like ad accounts, like their ads, everything gone.
Wow.
You think about that. $10,000 a month.
That's your average small business owner. They barely spending that.
I mean, how many people do you know personally that would spend 10 grand a month? So, I mean, you think about that, and the whole purpose of him telling that story was like, think about this, the odds of, hey, Zuckerberg could wake up one day and just snap his fingers,
and that's it.
and I mean, all of us that are spending money on Facebook are just instantly wiped out and gone.
But you know what? That's very similar to what happened. So for me, when I was going through that, I thought it was isolated to me, but I was one of the first people to experience that. And then what happened was, about 2 months later, I started getting all these emails from these gurus, like huge followings, saying the same thing, like, hey, did you lose your account? This person said they lost theirs, this person lost theirs. And it just started spreading like wildfire. Well, it turns out I was speaking to one of my marketing buddies, Mike, and he told me, he said, oh yeah, they did something very similar to that, to where it's like, if you're not spending X amount of money with us, that's it, that's all. We're not going to placate. We're not going to work with you, nothing. Basically, they want you to spend. But that cuts out the little people. That cuts out the people who are trying to get to that point, and it's not fair. So what Jason and I are both saying is complacency kills. Don't play around with that. So don't get so comfortable with Facebook to where you don't have any way whatsoever to be able to communicate with your prospects, to make sure that, heaven forbid, if there's another Facebook blackout in which they go down, I don't know, y'all sleep. Never mind. I ain't gonna say what I want to say. Listen, is it?
We're on this platform. Don't get us turned off now. Don't.
Right. Let me not. But it's yeah, you definitely want to get a list. You need backup. So don't wait until you need backup to start calling for backup or start building for that particular backup plan, because me and him both can tell you firsthand, it's not pretty. And you're not always going to have a Jason to call and say, hey, can you run this ad for me? It's not always going to be like that for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
All right, so we have about 20 minutes left on this session. We've talked about plenty, gave them a ton of value. Do you want to take this time to go ahead and talk about your lovely kitten Kaput? that whole thing. Do you want to go ahead and talk about that now, or you want to wait?
All right, let's go ahead. Might as well bring it on home, because I know I'm sure there's going to be questions once we kind of let this cat out of the bag here. So yeah, there's been a couple of questions. I know we've kind of alluded to it a handful of times. We've had people that have asked about it. Here we are, we're talking about data. Along the way, we've really struggled to find a good source of data. And really what that comes down to is you can find data anywhere. You can buy data. I mean, just Google it. I mean, you can find places to buy data. You can buy them just about any niche that you want to. But the problem is those are so overshared and oversold that by the time you get them, those lists are so pounded that they're not going to have any real interest left for it. So what ended up happening was a business partner and myself ended up developing a scraper that allowed us to essentially mine the data for ourselves, which we were able to do. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail of kind of the what and the how and the why and all that. Shreya's still laughing. I've shared with her. She knows enough about it to vouch for it here, and that's kind of why I'm sitting here right now. But yeah, so so basically, what we have done is we've been able to get a source for essentially it's double verified, so we know that all of the emails have been verified, all of the phone numbers have been verified. It's not just landlines; these are mobile phones. So all of the and this is consumer data. So let me say that there will be some actual businesses that might get looped in there, but a good majority of this data will be consumer data. And I know that there is a video that we put together that will be floating around there somewhere. But just to kind of show you a little bit, or just to kind of cover a little bit of what actually comes with it, you will get full name, email, mobile phone. A lot of times you will get their full address. You will get their city. A lot of times their occupation. And mostly, I think we're sitting at about a little over 220 different filters that we can filter through. We can go by occupation. Obviously, we can narrow it down by location, geographic. Really, we have yet to find any niche or really anything that we cannot, really dive into yet. So. So yeah.
Yeah, so for those who may not be aware, there are several different entities out there who will have this data, but if the data is inaccurate, and some of them will boast like 90% accuracy or 80% accuracy, and it's like, yeah, but is that their real number or is that their send-off number? I know, look, I do it too. A lot of times, like I have a phone number that if I know that I need it, especially because I'm in marketing and I'm always doing research, I have to put it out there. I have like my number that I just don't really care about. I rarely check it. I put it on do not disturb and keep it moving. Those are not the type of contacts that you want, because you will almost never have an opportunity to be able to reach that individual. You definitely want to be able to have something that has good connect rate, good contact information to where it makes sense. So you want to good emails, good phone numbers, good all of that. And sometimes it really helps. You want to look for something that's double verified or triple verified or whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that they're solid contacts so that you can do what you set out to do, which is to get them to open those emails, to get them to respond to those text messages, and then really make it count. But there are a lot of sources, they will charge you a pretty penny per name. You're thinking you're getting a good deal, and it is hot garbage. I just don't want to see you all go through some of the things that we've had to go through trying to find a good source to make sure that it's going to work, when in fact it doesn't. It doesn't. So tell us more about that, because I know that on the video, you and I missed each other for the past 3, 4, 5 days. Lord have mercy. But I do have that video. I'll post it in the group. I'll post it in the bottom. We'll work some things out when it comes to that. But I know that I think I saw you show some screenshots of like your open rates and stuff like that. You want to talk about that very briefly?
Yeah, so basically we were able to take this data, and like I mentioned earlier, we have the emails that go out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I mean just emails 1 through 3, and you can go in, you can watch the video that we post, and you'll see that. I mean, you watch the whole thing, you'll be able to see the data, the screenshot of the spreadsheet that we pulled down, and I'll show you exactly what you get with it. And then even right there, it has the open rates that we have in Klaviyo. I think email 1 was 54% open rate. I think email 2 was at, I think 43, and email 3 was at 40%. And just to put those in perspective, in the world of email campaigns, if you get 10% open rate, you're usually pretty happy.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, when we saw that,
Right.
so when we saw 40s and 50% numbers, I mean, we were blown away.
Yeah.
So now, with that being said, a lot of that is the data, but a lot of that obviously is subject lines, that's headlines, that's, I mean, there's, and I cover that in the video, there's a lot that goes into that. But a lot of that is you're hitting the right audience.
Yeah, it's based off of that data, and it's definitely going to be super important for you to know who your niche market is.
Yeah.
We get a lot of people who have no idea who their customer avatar is. I'm pretty sure that Jason can probably help with that. If you're one of our science students, you're more than welcome to like kind of get with your success coach or tap into the Success Science group. That's SUCCESS Science, SIGHIENCE. Even the website, www. What is wrong with me? Science.com. It's a really good way to be able to gain access to those different things. But figuring out what your customer avatar is going to be critical, because Jason, somebody like Jason, or Jason, I hope you use Jason, oh my goodness, he's going to need that information when he's trying to create your list or to pull your data. And the more you know who your customer avatar is, which is who would be interested in your product or service, the better off your campaigns are going to be. Because he can go out and blindly pull data from wherever. But if it's not going to be relevant to your product offering, your campaign's still probably going to fail. 9 out of 10 times it is. But once you know who that customer avatar is, you can communicate with him, and you will let him know, hey, I want to communicate with this, and this, but whatever those filters are, he will go in, work his magic, produce the list for you, let you know, okay, this is what came out of it. You would order, obviously, whatever quantity, kind of talk about those things, and then go from there. But first things first, though, is you have to know who your customer avatar is, which is like your niche market, and then order the data, and then start to implement all of the beautiful things that we've been speaking about this evening during this scientific conversation session.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's always going to start with knowing who you want to go after. Because I mean, it's like going into Facebook and saying, I want to run my ad to the entire country, and not niching down at all, not narrowing it down and just saying blast it out to everybody. And I mean, you got to know who your audience is. And so yeah, as soon as you can narrow that down and bring it down to who your target audience is, then like I said, we can go in, we can work our magic, and we can pull your pull that target audience down for you. And absolutely.
And go from there. So how long is it taking you on average to be able, let's say for example, Nayana was like, hey, she's going to call me. She's going to say, Shareha, I'm going to say yes. She's going to say, I need ... Like, who would you suggest that I use for my customer avatar? I'm going to tell her, because she's one of my students. I'm going to say, yeah, it's going to be this, and this will be my recommended. You can try any one of these 3 or all 3. She will come back to you. She'll say, hey, Jason, give me 5,000 pieces for, email, phone numbers, or whatever with these filters. How long does it take you on average to fulfill an order like that?
Depending on how many orders we have in the queue, typically about 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
because
Okay.
you know, and let me kind of just take a moment and kind of explain what, because we each time we get a new order in, so like if she comes in and says, hey, here's what we want, we have to set up like a what we call a crawl. So if we're going to go out there and we're going to set up to pull this data, we're going to set up that crawl to go through. We're going to go out there and we're going to pull all of that data. So essentially, it takes a little bit of time to build that out for one, and then it takes a little bit of time to go and collect all of that data. So it's not just like I go in there and it's not like Facebook algorithm where it's just like, okay, let me just type it all in and then just it pops right up. It does take time to collect and pull everything together.
Okay. Okay. And then how frequently can they come back to you once they've worked through whatever data that they acquire from you?
I mean, you can come back as often as you'd like. I mean, we've got really right now, we've got two types of customers. We've got people that come for just kind of like the one-off. We've got people that will come and just say, hey, I need a one-off, like hey, one batch of, records. I need, one list.
Right.
And then I've got one guy right now that he's coming and he's like, hey, I'm getting ready for Black Friday. I'm getting ready for the holiday season. And he's been doing a 5,000 person list monthly for the last 2 months. And he's going to be adding to that pretty much now through December.
Okay. Okay.
So it's just kind of like he's on a standing, like recurring order.
Okay,
so
that's smart though through this peak season, especially if you didn't start building prior to. You have to stay very consistent, so that's good to know.
Right.
Okay. Now, do you? I know that you are a success coach with Sighience. A lot of people don't fully understand and realize that. Hey, speaking of which, review Sighience. Let's earmark that. We have to come back to that. But anyway, you are a success coach with Sighience, but obviously if you have a student assigned to you, that's great. But if they're not coming by way of the Sighience e-learning and grant program, do you have the ability or the capacity to kind of offer like different types of consultation sessions with them to kind of help them find out their niche, or do they need to come ready, like knowing exactly what their filters are?
Yeah, we can have that conversation. I mean, I've had that conversation with many of people, kind of helping them, drill down into who that is. I mean, obviously it speeds up the process if they come in knowing, hey, this is exactly who it is. Obviously it makes my life a little easier.
With lots of it's not the easiest.
But yes, of course, if if we need to sit down and have that conversation, we can sit down and have that conversation.
Okay, sounds good. So Elgin just asked, will the list come scrubbed and ready to go? Before you answer that question, I'm going to say, hey, Jason, that's an upsell. If you don't, you might want to go ahead and give that like over a premium, but go ahead and answer.
As it sits right now, no, the list is not pre-scrubbed, but you're absolutely right. We can do that for you. If you're like, hey, I don't know how to do that. If that's just kind of part of that initial conversation. We have done that for people, just kind of based on need. Excuse me. If it's like, hey, when we get into that conversation, based on what you're wanting to do with it, if you're wanting to email, if you're wanting to text message, just kind of, so it's not just kind of like a, hey, we'll scrub it, it's X amount more. It just kind of, it goes based on what you're wanting to do with it. If you're wanting the list, here's the price. If you're wanting it scrubbed, then we need to have a conversation because we'll scrub it based on what you're wanting to do.
So are you offering that as like, because this is, you already know this is the difference. You can have a list, like you said, that might be like 5,000, but then after you scrub it, it might be 4,700 or something like that. That might come out of the wash after you scrub it. Now, would you consider, or are you considering to offer that as like a after effect of the purchase, to where it's like you purchase your 5,000, then we scrub it, then we give it. Oop, I'm dropping.
I get what you're saying. No, and once we do the crawl, once we get everything pulled, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, here's the 5,000, and then we would deliver it. And that's typically, and I'm just kind of throwing this out there, Normally, if somebody asks for 5, we'll typically deliver, usually around 5,100, 5,150, something like that. We'll try to give a few more with the understanding that, hey, by the time you scrub this, there's going to be some that drop off. Okay. Okay, we've done it long enough. We know how this works.
How that works. Okay. And then if someone just comes back later, I surmise it's just maybe they purchased it, came back 2 days later, was like, you know what, can you just scrub this? Because I don't know what I'm doing with this entity, or maybe I don't have enough of a quantity. Will you help? Just know, ladies and gentlemen, that Jason and I'm sure we can collaborate. Since I already have an account with the contact center, I could probably work something out to where we can get it scrubbed for you. Do know it's not free. It's going to always be a fee, but there's probably some things that we can do to help you guys along the way to scrub that data from a compliance perspective, so that you can market a lot more confidently, as you continue to go on with your endeavors.
Right.
All right, Jason, is there anything else that you would like to talk about, share with us, anything this evening? We got about 5 minutes, 2 minutes left.
2 minutes. No, I think we've about covered everything for tonight. I don't think, what else can we say about data? Man,
I don't know. I think that's really it. I mean, it's amazing. I got excited, when you were telling me about it. I'm like, oh, that's huge. Like, I know how much this is worth. I've been doing this for over 15 years from a branding and marketing standpoint. Elgin said, do I get a student discount? Look, we'll just say it's a strong possibility. We need to put some things together, but definitely, if you are not a part of the group, Success Sighience is the actual Facebook page is called Success Sighience: How to Build Your Business and Qualify for Grants up to 105K. If you join that group, you can try to text the word I want to say success to 47177, or find us on Facebook. It's Sighience International, SIGHIENCE to 47177. You should be able, it's going to take you to the messenger bot anyway and give you a private invitation to the group. Jason and I, several of the other success coaches, they can pop in to approve it. And then you should see this video. We'll pop the links for you guys in the comments below once it's fully live and ready for you. And then we can kind of go from there from a purchasing standpoint. And then as we roll out different solutions for you, as you know, we're very solution centric, then we'll go ahead and pop back into that thread and just, post different updates for you all. We may even do a very short live, and then I'll also post the video for you guys there as well.
Leo was asking if it's business or consumer. Our system is consumer. If you are needing B2B, let me know. I've got a source for a pretty good business I can connect you with. So yeah, if you're needing business data or business leads, yeah, let me know if you're needing that.
All right, sounds good. Our apologies, Leo. It's getting a little late, and we've got several things that we wanted to cover during this session. But thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today, who are watching the replay. This has been brought to you by Sighience International. Again, this is Sighientific Conversations with Jason Harrell. As you know me, I'm the lead scientist here with Sighience International. Refer to me as he said, I'm the lead scientist here with Sighience International, where we are committed to doing as much as we possibly can to help you reach your career goals. So thank you so much for tuning in. And Jason, if you don't have anything to add, we'll go ahead and end this thing.
No, I appreciate you having me on. It's always fun to get on here and talk shop with you. We always have a good time. So thanks for having me on tonight.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Nyana says thank you, and we look forward to helping you reach your career goals again soon. Bye.
All right, thanks, everybody.